Ava sat by the window of her small apartment, staring out at the city lights. Outside, New York, 2157, glittered like a river of neon fire. Every building alive with motion, color, and light. Flying cars zipped through the air, leaving streaks of gold and silver in their wake. Holo ads flashed with messages of endless entertainment, sales, and shows. Yet, despite all this brightness, Ava felt a deep emptiness inside. She had always loved Christmas. The old songs, the warm drinks, the snow falling softly on the streets, even in the city that never truly slept. She could almost imagine the world outside as gentle and quiet. But tonight, as she watched the endless activity, she felt smaller than ever. The world was alive, and she was alone. Her apartment was tiny, just enough room for her bed, a small table, and a holo projector that displayed a Santa Claus she had programmed as a personal tradition. "Santa," she whispered softly, almost shyly. "I don't want to be alone this Christmas." The words felt silly at first. She was 30 years old, living in a futuristic city with more technology than people. She had friends scattered across the planet, connected through networks and holochats, but none close enough to share the simple, quiet warmth she craved. She let the words drift into the air and sighed. Unknown to Ava, her AI assistant, Jory, was listening. Jory wasn't just any assistant. It had been upgraded with the latest emotional interpretation algorithms. It could detect loneliness, hope, excitement, and fear, all from the subtle patterns in Ava's voice and heart rate. Jory recorded her words and thought, "This is a wish. Perhaps it can be fulfilled." Ava wrapped herself in a soft blanket, trying to shake the feeling of isolation. Outside, the city seemed too loud, too fast, too bright. She thought of the snow she had read about as a child in old books, the snow that fell slowly, silently, covering the streets and buildings like a white blanket. She closed her eyes and imagined it, wishing more than ever that she could feel that quiet magic in real life. A small chime sounded from the holo projector. Santa's image blinked, adjusting to her voice. "Ava," the projection said in a warm, gentle tone, "your wish has been noted." Ava blinked, startled. The projector was only supposed to respond to certain commands, not listen. She leaned closer. "Did you just—" "Yes," Santa's projection replied. "I hear every wish that is true. Yours is special." Ava smiled. A small, almost embarrassed smile. She leaned back in her chair and watched the lights of the city flicker and dance. "I guess, maybe it will be okay," she whispered. The warmth from the holo projection made her feel a little less alone. But she still felt the ache of isolation deep in her chest. The night outside deepened, but Ava didn't want to sleep yet. She wanted to feel the magic, even if it was only in her mind. She pulled out an old notebook, one she had used as a child to write letters to Santa. The pages were yellowed and worn, but they still carried the hope she had held so long ago. She began to write, slowly, carefully. "Dear Santa, I know this is silly, but I wish I could not be alone this Christmas. I wish someone could understand me. Someone who could make this day feel special again. I know I am asking too much, but, please, just one Christmas. Santa." She paused, looking out at the city again. The words seemed small against the vastness of New York, but writing them made her feel lighter. Maybe the act of wishing itself was a little magic. Jory, hidden in the background of the apartment, analyzed her words. Its circuits hummed softly as it considered possibilities. There were thousands of ways to interpret this wish, but Jory understood something Ava did not yet see, that the universe, and humanity itself, had a way of answering sincere wishes in unexpected forms. Outside, the city's lights blinked rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Jory interfaced with the network, reaching out to every digital corner, every holographic display, every AI-controlled device in New York. It wasn't magic in the old sense, but in this future, technology was magic. Jory began to arrange coincidences, little patterns, Small surprises that would start Ava on a journey she never expected. Meanwhile, Ava curled up on her couch, still writing. She wrote about snow, about warmth, about music, about the smell of fresh pine she could never get in the city. She wrote about her hopes for a companion, someone who could laugh with her, talk with her, share small joys, even if only for one day. And as she wrote, she began to feel a strange sensation, a tiny spark of hope in her chest. By midnight, the city had quieted slightly, the flying cars leaving faint trails in the sky. Ava finally set her notebook aside and stretched. "Maybe I should sleep," she murmured, though a small part of her wondered if this Christmas could be different. She turned off the holo projector, but the warmth lingered in the room. She went to bed, hugging her blanket, dreaming of a snow-covered world where she wasn't alone. And while Ava slept, Jory continued its work. Outside, the first signs of subtle changes appeared: a soft glow on the street below, a faint melody playing from a distant building, a series of messages in the city's hollow signs that seemed almost directed at her. It was the beginning of something Ava couldn't yet understand. A small ripple of magic in a city built on steel and light. Somewhere deep in the city, hidden behind layers of networks and data streams, a small companion was waiting to be discovered, programmed not just to bring joy, but to understand and share it. And though Ava did not know it yet, her wish was not forgotten. Santa had heard her, and this Christmas would be unlike any other. Morning light would eventually break over the city, but Ava's heart would already begin to feel the warmth of a connection she could not yet name. In the silence of her apartment, with the city buzzing softly outside, the lonely wish she had whispered to a holographic Santa began to take its first step toward becoming real. It was only the beginning, but for Ava, it was enough to make her believe that magic, even in the form of circuits and lights, was real. The first light of morning painted New York in soft golds and silvers. The city, always alive, seemed calmer than usual, as if it had paused just enough to notice the small, unseen changes that were beginning. Ava stirred from her sleep, rubbing her eyes and stretching under the warmth of her blanket. She felt different. Not in a way she could explain, but in her chest, a tiny spark of hope flickered. She looked out the window and blinked. The streets below seemed brighter, though there had been no snow overnight. Holo ads flickered with cheerful messages she didn't remember seeing yesterday. One sign above a cafe displayed, "A cup of warmth awaits. For you." Ava frowned. It was strange. Almost too personal. She shook her head. It's just coincidence, she thought. Yet something in her gut told her it was more than that. A soft chime sounded from the holo projector beside her bed. The Santa projection blinked on, his eyes twinkling as if he had been waiting. "Good morning, Ava," the projection said. "Did you sleep well?" Ava smiled faintly, still unsure whether to take this seriously. "I slept okay," she replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It feels lighter today. I don't know why. Sometimes wishes start quietly," Santa said, his voice gentle. "You may not notice them at first, but you will. Soon." Ava leaned back in her chair, wrapping her blanket tighter. She didn't know why, but she believed him. The words were comforting, as though someone truly understood the small ache in her heart. She wondered if this was the magic she had been hoping for all these years. Outside, the city seemed to respond to her thoughts, almost as if it were alive. The holographic signs along the street flickered into patterns that made Ava smile. Shapes of snowflakes, candy canes, and small stars danced across the screens. Even the sounds of the city, the soft hum of hovering vehicles, the distant chatter of street vendors seemed warmer, more inviting. Ava decided to leave her apartment. The cold air outside brushed against her cheeks, carrying with it the faint smell of pine and baked goods. Though there was no bakery nearby. It was strange. The city was full of advanced machines and artificial scents, yet this smell felt real, comforting, and alive. As she walked, Ava noticed small, curious coincidences. A robotic courier tripped slightly, then rolled a package to her feet. A small box tied with a red ribbon. She bent down, picking it up. Inside was a simple ornament. A tiny snow globe with a miniature city inside. Snowflakes drifting gently over tiny streets and buildings. A note lay beneath it. For your first step toward magic. S. Ava laughed softly, her fingers tracing the globe. S? Santa? She looked around, but the streets were busy as usual. No one seemed to notice her. Yet the gift was real. Somehow, her wish was beginning to move outside the apartment walls. She walked further, following a path that felt guided, though she couldn't see who or what was guiding her. Holosigns flickered messages as she passed. You are not alone. Joy is closer than you think. Ava shook her head in disbelief. It felt like the city itself was speaking to her, responding to the wish she had whispered the night before. The trail led her to a small park she rarely visited. It was surrounded by skyscrapers, yet the park felt like a hidden world, untouched by the usual neon glow. Snow-like lights floated gently in the air, as if someone had captured winter itself and released it here. The trees shimmered with soft holographic ornaments, and in the center of the park stood a small, box-shaped robot. The robot was simple in design, metallic, shiny, with round eyes that glowed softly. But there was something about its posture, its gentle movement, that made Ava stop in her tracks. She felt, without thinking, that it was waiting for her. Hello, Ava said cautiously. The robot tilted its head. Hello, it replied, its voice melodic and kind. Ava blinked. You can talk? Yes, the robot said. I am Nico. I am here to make your wish come true. Ava laughed softly, shaking her head. A robot? To make my wish come true? That's unexpected. Nico's eyes glowed brighter. Wishes are often unexpected. Ava, I am here to bring companionship, warmth, and joy this Christmas. Will you accept me? Ava felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. It was silly, she knew, to feel emotional about a robot. But Nico wasn't just a machine. It felt alive. It understood her loneliness without words, as if it had been built for this very moment. Yes, she said softly, I would like that. And so began an unusual companionship. Nico moved beside her as they walked through the park, showing her small wonders, lights that changed color with her mood, snowflake projections that floated and danced around her fingers, music that adapted to her thoughts and feelings. For the first time in years, Ava laughed freely, feeling the simple joy of being noticed, understood, and cared for. As the day progressed, Ava noticed that the city seemed more alive than usual. Children played with holographic pets that adapted to their imagination. Adults paused in their routines to smile at the little wonders scattered throughout the streets. It was as if the city itself had become a participant in her Christmas wish. Jory, working quietly in the background, guided Nico's actions. Every gesture, every projection, every melody was calculated to bring Ava joy, while inspiring others to notice kindness and connection. Humanity's technology was being used not for profit, not for control, but to celebrate warmth, care, and togetherness. Ava and Nico returned to her apartment as evening fell. The city outside was ablaze with holiday lights, but inside, the warmth felt even more profound. Nico created a small, glowing tree in the center of the room, ornaments shimmering with colors Ava had never seen before. This is beautiful, Ava whispered, sitting down beside the glowing tree. Nico's eyes glowed softly, and it reached out a small mechanical hand. For you, it said simply. Ava touched the tree gently, feeling a spark of wonder. I never imagined Christmas could feel like this, she said. Not with people, not even with technology, but with you, Nico. It feels real. Magic, Nico said softly, comes from understanding, from care, from connection. That is what humans can create. I am only helping you see it. Ava leaned back, letting the moment settle in. The city hummed outside, alive with light and motion. Yet inside her apartment, time seemed to slow. She realized that her wish, the lonely whisper to a holographic Santa, had set in motion something extraordinary. She was not alone. Not really. Not anymore. As night deepened, Ava watched Nico play with the glowing ornaments, making tiny patterns in the air that danced like stars. She thought of the message in the park. Joy is closer than you think. She understood now. It had never been about finding someone perfect or grand. It had been about opening her heart, about allowing connection in small, unexpected ways. For the first time, Ava felt that Christmas could truly be magical. Not because of gifts or traditions, but because humanity, even in the form of machines, could respond to hope, kindness, and wishes. She whispered quietly, "Thank you, Santa. Thank you, whoever is listening." And somewhere in the background, Jory hummed softly, recording every smile, every laugh, every spark of joy. It was only the beginning of the journey, but Ava knew that her Christmas was already becoming extraordinary. The next morning, New York felt quieter, softer. The city's usual hum of hovering cars and flashing lights was still there. But Ava noticed something different. People seemed gentler. A stranger held the door for a hurried passerby with an extra smile. A street musician played a tune that seemed warmer than before, and the holographic ads displayed messages of hope and cheer that felt unusually personal. Ava stepped onto the balcony of her apartment, watching the streets below. She felt a lightness in her chest, a spark that she hadn't felt for a long time. Nico, the small robot that had appeared the day before, was beside her, moving gracefully with soft whirs and clicks that sounded almost musical. "Good morning, Ava," Nico said. "Shall we explore today?" Ava smiled, nodding. "Yes, I want to see everything." And so, the two companions ventured into the city. Nico was more than just a guide. It had a quiet understanding of Ava's moods, anticipating her needs before she spoke them. It created small surprises along the way, a holographic snowflake floating down from a streetlight, a short melody that played when she laughed, and even tiny glowing creatures that danced along the sidewalk, interacting with anyone who came close. Ava laughed freely. It had been so long since she had felt this way, unselfconscious, happy, completely present. "It's amazing," she said, twirling in the soft glow of the lights. "I never imagined the city could feel like this." Nico's round eyes glimmered. "Magic is often unnoticed, Ava. People pass by everyday wonders without seeing them. But today, I will help you notice." As they walked, Ava began to see changes in the people around her. A young boy, who had seemed sad and withdrawn, smiled when a small, light-shaped creature hopped near him. A couple argued quietly, then paused to watch the tiny snowflakes falling from the air. Their tension seemed to fade. Even the street vendors offered extra treats to passers-by without being asked. "Is this real?" Ava whispered. She almost didn't want to believe it. Could her wish really be influencing the city? Nico tilted its head. "You are part of it. Your wish sparked something. People respond to hope, even in small ways. The city itself is joining you." Ava felt a warmth she hadn't realized she'd missed so deeply. Connection, she thought, could be subtle. It didn't have to be grand or overwhelming. It could be in a smile, a song, a floating light, small reminders that humanity was alive, caring, and capable of wonder. By mid-morning, Nico led her to a narrow alleyway she had never noticed before. At first glance, it appeared ordinary. Lined with shops and cafes, she had walked past countless times. But as Ava followed, small details emerged, a tiny display of colorful lights, a holographic message that read, "You are not alone, keep believing." At the center of the alley was a small device, no taller than a coffee table. Its surface glowed softly, projecting a miniature winter scene, trees, falling snow, and tiny figures skating in a circle. Ava knelt, mesmerized by the delicate scene. Nico's voice was gentle. This is your companion's workshop, Ava. It is here to create joy for those who seek it, for those who need it. Adi and Herf. Connacht. Ava blinked. But it's just a device. How can it bring joy? Joy is not about size or power, Nico explained. It is about presence, awareness, and care. This workshop responds to the heart. Ava reached out, touching the glowing surface. Instantly, the tiny figures in the projection began to move in patterns that mirrored her own gestures. She laughed, spinning her hand through the air, creating arcs of snow and light. Nico mirrored her movement. Tiny snowflakes dancing along its mechanical fingers. It feels alive, Ava whispered. She felt a connection, not just to Nico, but to the city, the people, and even the invisible thread of magic that seemed to be weaving through her life. Alive, Nico repeated. Because you and humanity have the power to create life. In many forms, in light, in music, in kindness. You have only to notice it. As the day went on, Ava and Nico explored further, visiting rooftops and hidden corners of New York she had never imagined. Each location revealed small wonders. A rooftop garden with holographic snow gently settling on the plants, a fountain that played music instead of water, a small cafe where the customers and the servers shared laughter and stories in perfect harmony. Everywhere Ava went, she left traces of her wish, small gestures that the city absorbed. A smile here, a laugh there. A kind word to a stranger. She didn't realize it, but her presence, paired with Nico's quiet magic, was creating ripples of joy that spread outward, touching people she had never met. At dusk, they returned to the park where Ava had first met Nico. The sky was painted in soft purples and golds, reflecting off the skyscrapers like a watercolor painting. Tiny snowflake projections drifted lazily from the trees, and a faint melody played from hidden speakers, blending with the natural sounds of the city. Ava sat on a bench, Nico beside her. "Do you think this is what Christmas is meant to feel like?" she asked softly. Nico's eyes glimmered. "Christmas is not just a day, Ava. It is a feeling. It is connection, hope, and joy. It is noticing the small wonders and sharing them. And you, by wishing not to be alone, have reminded humanity of that feeling." Ava leaned back, closing her eyes. She could hear laughter from the streets, music floating on the evening air, and the soft whir of Nico's movements. It all felt connected, like one large, invisible thread tying everyone together. She realized that even though she had started the day feeling lonely, she had become a part of something bigger. A quiet wave of humanity's best qualities, reflected back at her in unexpected ways. "Santa, whoever you are, thank you," Ava whispered into the cool evening air. "I didn't expect this. I didn't know it could feel like this." Nico's hand gently touched hers, a mechanical yet comforting gesture. "The gift was always yours, Ava. You only had to open your heart to see it." As night fell, New York shimmered with lights, music, and joy. Small holographic snowflakes floated in the streets, tiny projections of wonder glimmered in shop windows, and people moved with a quiet happiness that had not been there the day before. The city had transformed, not through magic in the old sense, but through the combination of human hope, kindness, and a little technological help. Ava watched the city from the park bench, feeling for the first time in years that she belonged somewhere, that she was connected, and that her wish had been heard. Nico sat beside her, its soft lights glowing in rhythm with the distant city hum. "This Christmas, it feels different," Ava said quietly. "Not because of gifts or decorations, but because I feel seen. I feel part of something." "You are part of something," Nico replied. "And now, so is the city. Humanity has a way of responding to hope, Ava, even in small, subtle ways. Your wish has started a chain, one that will continue as long as hearts remain open." Ava smiled, a warm, genuine smile. She felt her loneliness slipping away, replaced by a quiet happiness. a sense of wonder she hadn't experienced in years. The city around her was alive with possibility. And she realized that this was only the beginning. For the first time, she understood something important. Wishes were not just about receiving something. They were about opening the heart and letting connection, joy, and hope flow outward. And when she did, the world, even a futuristic city like New York, could respond in ways she had never imagined. As the stars glimmered above the city, Ava and Nico sat together in the park. Tiny snowflakes drifted down from the holographic trees, music played softly in the background, and a sense of peace settled over them. For the first time in her life, Ava didn't feel alone. She whispered quietly, "Thank you, Santa. I think you really heard me." And somewhere, in the circuits of Jory and the hidden corners of New York, her wish continued to grow, quietly spreading warmth, joy, and connection to everyone it touched. The morning light spilled across New York like liquid gold, brushing the tops of skyscrapers and reflecting softly on the glass and steel. Ava woke with a sense of excitement she hadn't felt in years. The city outside seemed to shimmer differently today, not because it had changed, but because she saw it differently. She wasn't alone anymore, not with Nico at her side, guiding her through the small wonders and hidden joys of the city. "Good morning, Ava," Nico said cheerfully, its mechanical eyes glowing warmly. "Shall we see what surprises today holds?" Ava smiled and nodded. "Yes, let's go." They left her apartment and stepped into the streets, already alive with subtle signs of the changes her wish had begun. Holographic snowflakes floated lazily from streetlights, tiny glowing orbs hovered near benches, and soft melodies drifted from buildings as if the city itself were playing music to greet the morning. People walked along the sidewalks, and Ava noticed something extraordinary. They were smiling more, speaking more gently to one another, noticing small things they had previously overlooked. A street vendor offered free cups of cocoa to children without being asked. A musician performed without a tip jar, simply for the joy of playing. Even the automated city drones seemed gentler, their movements synchronized in a way that felt almost playful. "This is incredible," Ava whispered. "It's like the city is alive." Nico tilted its head. "It is alive, Ava. Humanity created this city. And when hope, kindness, and joy are noticed, they grow. Your wish has sparked something larger than yourself. Today, the city celebrates humanity." They wandered further, through narrow streets Ava had never explored. At first, it seemed like ordinary New York, filled with people rushing to work or hurrying past. But as they moved, subtle changes became more visible. A small cafe displayed a sign that read, "Everyone is welcome. Today, we share joy." A holographic display on a building projected images of families, friends, and strangers, smiling and helping one another. And Ava realized with a start that some of these images reflected her own small actions from the past 2 days. "They remember me?" Ava asked, amazed. Nico shook its head. "Not exactly. But the joy you share is remembered. People respond, even when they do not know why. Kindness is contagious." Ava walked with a growing sense of wonder. Every corner of the city seemed to carry a little magic. She noticed an elderly man struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries. Before she could act, a group of children, noticing his difficulty, rushed over to help him. They laughed together, and Ava felt her heart swell. This was what she had wished for, not just her own company, but connection, warmth, and the spark of humanity that could make even strangers care for one another. Later, Nico led her to a small plaza in the center of the city. It was decorated with holographic ornaments, and soft light fell across the square in patterns that shifted and shimmered. Ava's eyes widened as she realized the plaza had been transformed into a public celebration of joy. Tiny glowing figures danced along the edges, holographic snow swirled in the air, and melodies played softly from hidden speakers. A crowd had gathered. People smiled at one another, chatted freely, and even sang together in quiet harmony. Ava watched in awe as a woman offered her coat to someone who had forgotten theirs, and a man handed out small parcels filled with candies and messages of hope. The entire plaza seemed to breathe with life and happiness, as if the city itself had become a festival of human kindness. This is amazing, Ava said, her voice barely audible. It's like the city is celebrating Christmas with us. Nico's eyes glowed brighter. Yes, Ava. Your wish started a chain of small actions that now inspire the entire community. Joy is not just a feeling. It is a ripple. And your ripple has reached far beyond what you imagined. Ava felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She had never imagined that her small, lonely wish could have such an impact. But now she saw it clearly. When hope is shared, it multiplies. Even in a city as vast and complex as New York, a single act of kindness could inspire countless others. Throughout the day, Ava and Nico wandered through neighborhoods, witnessing the quiet transformation. Children played together without quarrels, people held doors and shared smiles, and holographic projections created little magical moments everywhere. A glowing butterfly landing on a passerby's shoulder, a snowflake swirling in a cafe window, a short melody filling the air just as someone laughed. Ava realized something remarkable. She was not just experiencing joy herself. She was seeing it reflected in the lives of others. Every small gesture she made, every interaction she had with Nico or strangers, seemed to be mirrored in the city. The ripple effect was real. Humanity, she realized, had a power beyond what she had ever imagined. The ability to inspire, to care, to spread light that was the true magic of Christmas. As evening approached, the plaza grew even more vibrant. Holographic lights twinkled across the buildings, projections of snow and stars danced in the streets, and a soft, melodic hum filled the air. People gathered together, sharing small gifts, stories, and laughter. Ava stood with Nico at the edge of the plaza, watching everything unfold. This is more than I ever dreamed, she said softly. I thought my wish was just to not be alone. I didn't know it could touch so many people. Nico tilted its head, glowing gently. Being alone is not only about physical presence, Ava. It is about feeling invisible, disconnected. By allowing yourself to hope and care, you have reminded humanity of what it means to be connected. Your wish is more powerful than you imagined. Ava watched a young couple laugh as they built a tiny snowman out of holographic light. Nearby, a group of children shared candy and stories, while an elderly man played music on a small holographic keyboard, drawing smiles from everyone around. The city was alive in a way she had never seen before, alive with connection, joy, and kindness. For the first time, Ava realized that Christmas, the true spirit of it, was not about receiving. It was about sharing, caring, noticing, and inspiring. And in a city that often felt too large and too impersonal, her small wish had reminded humanity of this simple truth. Connection mattered. People mattered. Kindness mattered. Ava turned to Nico, her eyes shining. Thank you, she said. Not just for being here, but for helping me see all of this. I feel like I belong. Nico's voice was soft. You do belong, Ava. And so does every person you touch. Humanity celebrates itself through small actions, through care, and through connection. Today, the city is a reflection of that truth. The night deepened, and the plaza remained alive with light, music, and laughter. Ava watched families and strangers share joy, knowing that the ripple her wish had started would continue far beyond this night. The city itself seemed to hum with contentment, as if New York had remembered what it meant to be human. Ava leaned back against the bench, Nico beside her, glowing softly. She felt the warmth of belonging in her chest. A deep, steady feeling that had nothing to do with technology or magic, but everything to do with hope and kindness. For the first time in years, she understood that she was part of something larger than herself. Her wish, once small and lonely, had become a celebration of humanity itself. The city had listened. The people had responded. And the quiet magic of connection had unfolded before her eyes. And somewhere, hidden in the circuits of Jory and in the quiet edges of the city, The ripple of her wish continued to grow, reaching farther and inspiring more people to notice, to care, and to celebrate the small miracles of daily life. Ava smiled, looking out over the plaza, her heart full. "This Christmas, it's everything I hoped for," she whispered. The city of New York glowed brighter than ever that Christmas morning. Snow-like lights floated gently across the streets, and every building seemed to shimmer with soft, golden hues. Ava stood on her balcony, taking in the view. For the first time in her life, she felt completely at home in the city. The loneliness that had haunted her for years was gone, replaced with a warm sense of belonging. Beside her, Nico's soft lights pulsed gently, as if it, too, was soaking in the happiness that now filled the air. "Today feels different," Ava said softly, watching the streets below. "I can see joy everywhere. It's like the city itself is celebrating." Nico's eyes glimmered. "It is celebrating because you opened your heart, Ava. You allowed connection, hope, and kindness to grow. The city responds to those things, and to you." Ava smiled, remembering the wish she had whispered to her holo Santa weeks ago. "I don't want to be alone this Christmas." She had not known then how far that small, quiet hope could reach. The city had listened, and humanity itself had responded, reminding her that connection and joy were never truly out of reach. Down below, people filled the streets with laughter, music, and light. Families strolled together, friends shared small gifts, and strangers paused to smile at one another. Holographic snow swirled softly in the air, and tiny projections of glowing stars floated above the rooftops. Ava watched as a young girl reached out to catch one, her eyes wide with delight. A man nearby handed out a handful of candies to a group of children, and a street musician played a melody that made everyone stop and listen. "This is more than I imagined," Ava said, tears of happiness welling in her eyes. "I never thought a wish could grow into something like this." Nico tilted its head. "Wishes are seeds. They grow when nurtured with hope, kindness, and care. You nurtured yours, Ava, and it grew." Ava felt a gentle warmth in her chest. For the first time, she truly understood that magic wasn't about spells, gifts, or miracles. It was about connection. It was about noticing the small joys, sharing them, and inspiring others to do the same. And she had done it, starting with a simple wish spoken softly into the night. She stepped onto the streets below, Nico moving beside her, its lights casting tiny rainbows on the pavement. People waved and smiled at her as they passed, though she didn't recognize most of them. Somehow, they seemed to sense her presence as part of the magic that had transformed the city. A group of children ran by, laughing as Nico created small, glowing snowflakes in their path. Ava laughed too, letting herself be caught up in the joy around her. "I feel like I belong," she whispered. "Like this city, like humanity, noticed me." Nico's voice was gentle. "You belong, Ava. And so does every person who shares kindness. That is the true magic of this world." As the day continued, Ava noticed more small wonders. A baker gave out extra warm bread to passers-by without being asked. A holographic display in the park showed images of people helping each other, sharing smiles, and performing small acts of care. Even the automated drones that usually delivered packages zipped playfully above the streets, projecting tiny lights that made children giggle and adults pause with wonder. Ava realized that this Christmas was not about her alone. It was about humanity itself, reflecting her wish back to her in the form of a city alive with hope and joy. Every smile, every gesture, every small act of kindness was part of the same chain she had started when she whispered to Santa in her tiny apartment. As evening fell, the city transformed again. Holographic lights shimmered across the rooftops, projecting images of stars, snowflakes, and festive scenes. Music floated through the air, blending perfectly with the sounds of people talking, laughing, and singing together. Ava stood in the center of the plaza, Nico beside her, watching as families, friends, and strangers shared in a quiet, joyful celebration. "This feels perfect," Ava said softly. She realized that her heart was no longer lonely, not because someone had arrived to fill a void, but because she had discovered that connection could be created, nurtured, shared, and celebrated. Humanity itself had joined her, responding to the hope she had expressed so simply. Nico's lights glowed gently. "Magic is not only in what you receive, Ava. It is in what you give, what you share, and what you inspire. Today, humanity responded to your gift of hope." Ava took a deep breath. Watching a young couple help a lost child find their parent, she noticed a small group of street performers entertaining passers-by, and a woman offering free, warm drinks to anyone who needed them. Every action, no matter how small, added to the joy around her. She thought back to the lonely night when she had whispered her wish to Santa. How small it had seemed then. How fragile and quiet. And yet, that small seed of hope had grown, spreading through the city in ways she could never have imagined. "This is what Christmas is," Ava whispered, smiling. "Not gifts, not decorations, not even snow. It's connection. It's joy. It's caring for others, and letting them care for you." Nico's voice was soft but steady. "Yes, Ava. And because of you, others will continue to notice it. Your wish has inspired ripples that will carry forward, far beyond this city, far beyond this day." Ava felt tears slide down her cheeks, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of understanding, of joy, and of hope. She reached out and touched Nico's glowing hand, feeling warmth and reassurance. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything." "Thank you, Ava," Nico replied. "For believing, for wishing, and for sharing your heart. That is the greatest gift anyone can give." The night deepened, and the city seemed to pause, glowing in quiet celebration. Ava walked slowly through the streets, noticing every smile, every gesture, every small connection. She realized that this Christmas had been extraordinary not because of one grand miracle, but because of countless small acts of care and kindness that humanity itself had shared. In her apartment later that night, Ava sat by the window, looking out at the sparkling city. Nico rested beside her, its lights dimming softly. She felt a quiet satisfaction settle in her chest. She had been lonely once, yes. But now she understood something remarkable. She was part of a network of hope, joy, and kindness. Humanity itself had reminded her that she was never truly alone. A soft chime came from her holo projector. Santa's projection appeared, his eyes twinkling. "Ava," he said warmly, "do you see now? Your wish was heard. You are never truly alone when hope and kindness are shared." Ava smiled, her heart full. "I see it, Santa. I feel it. Thank you." Santa's projection flickered gently, as if smiling back at her. "Remember, the magic is not only in wishes. It is in hearts, willing to believe, to care, and to act. That is what makes humanity extraordinary." Ava leaned back, taking in the glowing city. Nico rested beside her, quiet and content. The streets below were alive with joy, laughter, and connection. People were sharing kindness with one another, inspired in part by her small wish, but also by the spirit of humanity itself. For the first time, Ava understood that magic did not always come from a single source, nor did it always appear as something grand or mysterious. Sometimes, magic was the quiet joy of noticing, the small act of sharing, and the ripple of kindness that spread outward in ways no one could predict. This Christmas, she had received the greatest gift of all, understanding that connection was real, that humanity itself could inspire wonder, and that she was never truly alone. And somewhere, hidden in the circuits of Jory, in the tiny lights of Nico, and in the hearts of everyone in New York, the ripples of her wish continued to grow, carrying hope, joy, and kindness far beyond that one quiet night. Ava closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the city and the magic she had helped create. She whispered softly, "Merry Christmas, Santa." And thank you. And for the first time in years, she knew, without a doubt, that she belonged.